listen to generic techno every day. It makes me feel okay. I like generic techno, makes me feel real good in my heart of hearts. I really want to feel the generic techno through me. Generic techno is the only way to live, the only way to be, the only way you wanna be is generic techno. Love it, love the generic techno flowing through me. I wanna hear it all night long. I love generic techno on through me. I wanna hear it all night long. The generic techno, generic techno, generic techno. I love generic techno. It feels so good to be part of the generic techno. I love it, generic techno. I want to feel it a part of me. I want to be a part of generic techno. I want to make generic techno. I want to be a part of your world. Generic techno. It feels so good to me to be so generic. I love generic techno. It feels so good. I listen to the wops, the waps. They feel so good to me. I love generic techno. It feels so good. It feels so free. I love generic techno. I love it flowing through me. I want to be generic techno. Will you be generic with me? I want to be generic. Get generic with me. I want to be generic. So get generic with me. I want to be generic. So be generic with me. I want to be generic. So come on, be generic with me. I want to feel so generic. I want to be so generic. I want to seem so generic. I want to look so generic. This is generic music. Makes me feel so good in my heart of heart. It doesn't cause waves. Generic techno. I love to hear the generic music flowing through me and flowing through my body. Listen to generic music every day of your life and you'll feel so good. Generic music feels so good. It feels so free and it feels so me. I like to listen to generic music all the time. Generic techno. I like to feel so generic in my life and in my musical choices. I like to be generic, and I am with generic techno. I love to listen to generic techno. I like to listen to generic techno. I like to listen to generic techno. I love to listen to the music so generic. It feels so good to me. I love to listen to the generic sounds, the whoops, the wops, the baps, the boops, the whoops, the wops, the whips, the whap, the wop. Generic techno feels so good to my body. Generic. It feels so good to be generic. I want to be generic every day of my life. Generic. I want to feel so generic. Generic. I want to be generic. Generic. Let me be generic. Generic. Be my friend. Generic. Generic. I want to be so generic. 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 Generic, generic, I want to listen to generic techno, to generic techno, to generic techno. I want to listen to generic techno songs. Listen to my generic techno songs. I want to hear the songs that are so generic and so techno, so generic techno, so generic techno. Want to hear the songs that are super generic techno, super generic techno. Want to hear the songs, want to hear your face. Generic techno, love to hear generic techno. Want my life to be generic techno. I love to listen to generic techno, listening to generic techno. Want my life to be generic techno. Love to listen to generic techno. Want to hear to generic techno. Love to hear to generic techno. Want to be a part of generic techno. Love to be a part of generic techno. Want to make my own generic techno. Love to hear generic techno. I am the generic techno master. Listen to generic techno all your life and every day, and you feel real good. Generic techno is real good. I want to hear more generic techno. Give me more generic techno. I want to hear generic techno. Give me that generic techno. Feels so good to flow through me, the genericness. I love to hear generic, love to want generic. I love generic techno. Generic, love the generic music. It feels so good to me.